I want to be well lit at all times.
And I know, and I like it as a metaphor, right? That's a good one.
Right. Shining with all my light. Maybe not all my shine, but all my light.
All right, excellent. All right, so ready when you are?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's roll. I'm very excited to introduce the guest. And actually, I'm not excited because I'm thrilled to introduce our guest today. And actually, our guest does not need an introduction. We're going to talk today up to Margaret Lynch, a transformational coach, a life coach, speaker, author, and an enormous influencer, influencing thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there. And I just recently checked her most favorite and my most favorite videos out there have more than 500,000 clicks, each of them. The $50,000 and the big tap in for something big. They're growing, and when I found them, they were only like 30,000. So I'm loving your progress, and I would love for you to share everything that you're doing so that we can learn more from you.
Awesome. Well, I am, whatever you want to know, I'm an open book.
Okay, the first one, the most dominant quote in my mind recently, maybe like the last 6 months, it's about being powerful beyond measure. And a lot of the times, it's not really the fear, but the fear of the power and the success that we might have that's holding us back. And
right.
You introduced me to this amazing concept of charismatic leaders. So I would love to hear a little bit more of how you would describe what it's all about.
Sure. And the term charismatic leader comes from Rhys Thomas and the Rhys Thomas Institute of Energy Medicine. And he built that structure of the 5 profiles that he calls based on Alexander Lowen's great work. There's lots of people who've studied Alexander Lowen. He called it the character structures, but was really just about the dark side, right? And so the charismatic leader is one of the 5 kinds of people on the planet. There's only 5 kinds of people on the planet. There's not men and women. There's 5 kinds. And some of us come through to be charismatic and to have that leadership quality, right? And so women are never told that they should ever be a charismatic leader. We're raised to be what we call the team player, where we just take care of everybody, or to be soft and or to be smart and efficient and multitasking maniacs, which are great skills to have, but it's not the same as living your life that way 100%, right? So the charismatic leader quality means that you are the type of person that when you get like really honest with yourself, secretly honest with yourself, what you really like more than anything is a sense of freedom. You do not like to be told what to do. And no matter what you might say your motivation is on the outside for something, I want to help people. If you've got really secretly real, your motivation is like, I'm the coolest person in the room. Like, yes, I'm doing great work and I'm out there, but like people are kind of looking at me like, you're awesome. And I'm like, yes, that's what I've always wanted, secretly. And so it's a quality that we will deny to our death, right? Like, no, it's not about me. But it's built into someone who's a charismatic leader. You're wired to want attention. You're wired to want to be the center of attention, because that's the wiring that you need to propel you to stand up and to say, I think everyone should listen to me right now, because I can see what will move this group of people forward, or I can see the thing that's never been done before, and I want to be the one to do it. I want to be the one to do it, right? And so if we don't have that sort of narcissistic sounding drive, which, yes, if you live totally in the dark side, those are the scary narcissists. But if you don't allow that quality to pull you, then you don't get to be fully alive and on fire and doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is leading by example of being fully passionate, right? And so that quality is very hard for women to own. And when you're a charismatic leader, you don't really want to be defined in any way, shape, or form. You're like, you don't know me. I'm secret. So we don't like to be defined, and we've often played somebody else our whole life, right? Like, I did not think of myself as a charismatic leader. If someone told me that I wanted to punch them in the face, because I was like, you don't know me. I thought of myself as more what we call the knowledgeable achiever, right? I have an engineering background and I'm very cerebral and I love to map things out. And that's a quality that I use often, but if I have to be doing that person all the time, life sucks for me. I get angry, right? And I get disgruntled and I get crabby. Whereas when I'm being a charismatic leader, I have endless amounts of energy for anything I want to do. Mm-hmm. Right? So finding that quality, that's your main quality, even though you have these other qualities, mm-hmm. is such a powerful piece to getting into your mission in a way that's going to make you happy all the time instead of mm-hmm. enslaved all the time, right?
I remember taking your class that was absolutely fascinating. And the reason I also know that it's a very mastery level class, because if you take a class from a teacher of somebody that you want to have more knowledge of, and then you go to this class over and over and over again, like with your classes, I kept going like 2-3 months ago, I need to listen to this again. So there are so many layers there that you're like, okay, well, there's really something here. So that's, like the true masteries, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm taking your class and then, like you talk about charismatic leader and I'm like, oh, no, I'm just too emotional to be a charismatic leader. And then I go and take a test just for the fun of it, because a friend of mine said, look, he took a test. I'm like, okay. So I'm taking a test and 3 of the profiles come in like 19, 20, 21. I'm like, this should not be right. And I'm like talking to this friend and he's like, well, you know what this means. I'm like, no, I don't.
Right. Don't know.
And they say, well, you must be a charismatic leader. I'm like, oh my God, busted. Like that moment. I'm like, oh no. I mean, you just know. Yeah. And it was so cool to hear it from you so that I could have permission to say. And then I'm asking my friends, do you think that's me? They're like, oh yeah. I'm like,
right. Oh, ask your friends. Okay. Right. So if you say to your friends, is it kind of all about me? And they go, yes. And you're like, what? I'm so selfless. I'm so caring. And I'm like, you are selfless and caring, but it's kind of all about you. And we love that about you.
Yeah, and there's just so many of us that are sitting there waiting for somebody to wake up and say, hello, come out of the club, just check it out and see if that's for you and see if that's, your true nature. So what would you encourage this person to do as the next step to decide, whether they're not a charismatic leader or might be in that ballpark?
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the questions I'll ask, right? Is that most of the people that come to these kind of interviews and are interested in this stuff, they're mostly knowledgeable achievers. Yeah. They love to learn and learn and learn and learn, and they're hungry for knowledge. Or they're charismatic leaders, right? Those are the two main, right? The other two, like team players, are busy watching your children so you can listen to this interview. Right? Or like doing something nice for you. And the emotional intelligence specialists are usually attracted to softer things, not conversations about charismatic leaders, right? And the creative idealists are kind of all over the place. Those are the 5 different kinds of people. And so it's really asking yourself, like, when I think about what makes me happiest in life, is it truly the ever-evolving mastery, learning something at a mastery level because I have an internal sort of challenge to myself to rise to my best, to rise to that level of wise sage and mastery over and over and over. And in the process, I see things and I organize things, and that makes me feel like so good about myself, right? I love that mastery. Mm-hmm. Or when you think about maybe the same quality, loving to learn, do you love to learn because it's a vehicle that gets you something? Yeah. Because then I win something at the end, and I'm like, yes, I won. I'm smarter than everyone, right? Knowledgeable achievers do like being validated but they are less competitive. It's like an internal thing. It's like, no, I want to go to my next best level. Yeah. Whereas charismatic leaders, we want to go to the next best level that we can skate by at and still get all the glory and the prize, right? So if you ask yourself, like, what really motivates me? Is it about winning or is it about the organization, the mastery, and the doing, right? I'll do a lot in order to win. I don't like discipline, but I will do it in order to win. A knowledgeable achiever loves discipline. That's what they love. That's the mastery. Look at, she's laughing, right? That's how you know the difference. And if you feel like this might be me, then, you just start asking yourself different questions, right? Because I didn't know what a charismatic leader would do in any situation. I had thought I was a team player. Yeah. Because I'm one of 8 kids. and I love being a mom and supporting people, and maybe a knowledgeable achiever because I was an engineer, right? And so it's asking yourself, if just for a second I play with the idea that I am a charismatic leader, what would that piece of me that maybe I've jammed down for a long time, kind of like a teenager, angry, locked in a closet, right? That's how you want to think of it, because it's rebellious and it'll come out. What would it want me to do? Because it's going to be bigger. What bigger thing, what courage would it ask me to have to do something bigger than I'm doing now, right? What little wall of fear that I've been sitting at, is it asking me to push through to get to the other side, right? With knowledgeable achievers, it's more about what piece of my inner critic can I apply self-love to so that I can allow myself to open my heart more. It's very different for a knowledgeable achiever, right? For charismatic leaders, it's about fear and courage to do the bigger thing.
I can get the result. And then I don't want any other 10 pieces of knowledge, for the sake of it, but I will learn that and I want to see how it's going to change my life.
Yes.
That was the piece. I didn't wrap it in the present, just saying that it's going to be rewarded, going to be famous or this. I'm like, no, I want to see the result. If that gives me the result, I'm in. If it doesn't get the result, I'm not interested.
Yeah, well, we definitely won't waste our energy.
Yeah.
Unless there's a big payoff. But the question is what you're dryly calling a result.
Yeah.
If you were to have that show up in droves, what would the feeling in you be?
Yeah.
Right. And that's where we learn to because it's socially not acceptable to be like, I want to be the star. It's like, oh, I just want to get to this result. I would have never admitted to any of that.
Okay.
And it was very hard for me to make all those videos at first because I came up against this, people are going to think that you think you're something special, and I can never act like I think I'm something special.
Right.
That would be wrong. That would break all my rules. I have to be humble, and the only thing I could get seen for is maybe being a little smart, but people are going to see that I'm arrogant, and I would never want to be arrogant, so I couldn't make video. I was like, I can't do it. Took a lot of tapping to break through that fear and to say, okay, I do want to teach something, and I admit that I have a piece of me that is arrogant and thinks that, what I have to say is really important and people should listen to it. And I kind of want them to like me for it. And it was so hard for me to admit that. But once I did, it freed me from the fear of someone else seeing that in me. Because when you own it, you're like, someone could accuse you and you'd be like, yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah. That's
the difference, right? It's like, yeah, you're kind of right, kind of arrogant, kind of think I'm all that. Sue me, I'm putting out great videos, right? And I also do have a heartfelt mission, and I'm really passionate about teaching, and I'm willing to push through the fear of doing this on a video where people could laugh at me, make fun of me. I'm like, what if someone from college sees me? They're going to be like, she's mental now. To push through that fear of weird, tapping on a video and actually do it because I felt like it could transform people's lives, right? So I'm both of those things. I've got a big mission, and I'm kind of obnoxiously arrogant, apparently, because that's what it took for me to put on the makeup and hair and turn on a camera and go, yes, I'm this important. I'm making videos of myself.
I like calling it modeling, and I think, the more modeling we have, and Abraham Hicks recently, they introduced this concept of being full of yourself. And that's where, things are happening when you become full of yourself. You're more like whole yourself, your whole self. And then people, I think the reaction to that is going to be with the purpose in mind, right? So then the reaction to that is going to be more like, I want to be like that person, even if it's intuitive, rather than if somebody's arrogant for the sake of being arrogant, it's different.
Right.
If you are there to show up because you have something important and you cannot not say, the feeling is completely different.
Yeah, and that's where it's like when you think about the chakras, right? We have 7 levels of consciousness.
Yes.
If you're just the arrogance and the push and the, it's all about me, then you're Kim Kardashian, right? You have no substance, you have no mission, there's no value. I mean, not to trash Kimmy, but there's just celebrity status. Yay, look at me.
Yeah.
Right. And so but I often find, that is something that we are in our 20s and 30s, maybe. Right. But as you come into this lovely part of Second Life, we tend to have a lot more experience and knowledge and a calling to give something. And when you mix all of that together, now you're like I say to women, I want you to say to yourself, I am a woman of substance.
Yeah.
Right. There's something that I have to say and give, and I should be the messenger of this. And so I'm going to push through my fear. I'm going to find whatever bit of courage and audacity and obnoxious arrogance that I have in me, and I'm going to take all of that and use it for the highest good of my mission, right? And that's when it's like, it's scary and I'm doing it, right? But that's when it gets fun along the way. That's when it becomes really, really fun to do it, as opposed to, struggle. When I have to do stuff that's very sequential and sitting for hours, it's kind of a struggle for me, right? But once I've got it ready to go and we're videotaping, I can do that all day. I'm like, let me tell you, right? Because I'm getting to be the person that I like to be, right? I get on stage, I'm not tired. I'm like, let me crack another joke, people. But crafting the talk for 3 weeks, douse me with lighter fluid. I just want to go to heaven, right? So it's really, and I guess the other thing that I would say about, you said having a bigger charge of power, I can't remember the way you said it, unlimited power or bigger power, is knowing that just because you start to realize you're a charismatic leader and you might feel pulled and compelled that I've got this mission that I want to be on, it doesn't mean that's 100% of the time. You don't have to be huge and powerful all freaking day, right?
Yeah.
You have these moments of power, but you're still your feminine goddess. You still get to be needy, and you still get to have needs, and you still get to be soft, and you still get to ask for people to help you and serve you and support you, and you still get to sob hysterically and be like, I hate working hard, like I do, probably once a month, right? And I don't want to work this hard. Blah. And I get to be all aspects of me. I don't have to have this massive responsibility, and that I think scares people around their power. If I step into my power, now I have this huge responsibility, and everyone's going to expect me to be powerful all the time. No. Right? You get to be powerful, and then you get to pull it back, and you get to be quiet. If you want to be invisible for the day, you get to be invisible for the day. You get to recharge, you get to restore, you get to be feminine and soft, and you get those moments of power where you are just a powerhouse, right? Because you are being a full person, right? And I literally, that's the only way I could do it. I could never be a powerhouse all the time. I could never be hardcore all the time. What's fun about that? Nothing.
Beautiful.
I like to receive.
Like a small little,
Yes.
addition to that. So another fun thing about charismatic leaders is that's what, fascinates me the most. It's kind of like, you think about yourself, well, I'm maybe lazy. I'm, sitting on the couch and I'm not motivated. And then you mentioned that the charismatic leaders are motivated by really big payoff. And now I understand why you have $50,000 tapping for $50,000 on your channel. Would you speak to that?
Yeah, at the time when I made that video, it was still very law of attraction, and all of the tapping people out there who I was, like, whoa, there, like all the big people. All they said was abundance and prosperity. Nobody used the word money. It was very interesting. And so law of attraction was very abundancy and prosperity. And there's a lot of knowledgeable achievers in the law of attraction movement, in the tapping movement. And knowledgeable achievers are a much more cerebral, spiritual type of people. That's how they're wired, right? And so I noticed that nobody talked about money, never mind specific amounts of money. And when I started to do it with my clients, they wanted to run screaming from my office. So I'd say, they'd come in, they'd be like, yeah, I want more abundance, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, well, let's talk about what would the number be of your income right now? And they'd be like, right? Well, let's talk about doubling that number. And they'd be like, now I want to throw up. Do you have a wastebasket, Margaret? And I'm never coming here again, because I made them look at specific numbers, right? And that's how I wrote the book, Tapping into Wealth, was all those years of figuring out processes in myself and in people that triggered them at such a basic level of like, oh my God, I want to die, right? So I started doing all this work around like digging in, like, now let's talk about your debt. Like, what do you feel when you write your debt down? People are like, I feel ashamed. And when you're a tapping person and you're trying to get people into their power, your perspective in my world of transformational coaching is, I'm going to find the thing that's blocking it. And shame is a big blocker, right? And so you're looking for the dark stuff. So I was doing a ton of that dark work around money, because when I cleared away shame, people were like, oh my God, I'm a new person. I look at my debt and I'm like, I am ready to let go of this. And they would just completely change their whole financial picture. So since I got really specific around money on the yucky stuff and making people set outrageous goals, I started thinking about, what if you did some tapping? And instead of saying a million, like Jack Canfield in the movie said, write a check for $1 million, write down $1 million. You know, $1 million did nothing for me. It was too dissociated. It was too out of reach. It was too far. You know, I'd only earned like $120K, the most I'd ever earned in corporate America. I couldn't imagine, like, it was too much. But when I talked about specific sums of money, like $50,000 more, it felt like palpable and real, and it triggered a lot of beliefs. So I was playing around with the video and I thought, why don't I make a video instead of talking about I'm open to abundance and prosperity, because we got plenty of those. And I was like, I'm really not the abundance expert. I like to talk about money because I can use money. Abundance is like an idea, like a beautiful idea, but it's an idea, right? It could be anything. Could be an abundance of rain droplets. So I just thought, why don't I make a video? And I picked a number that made me smile. I was like, $50,000. I can't say it without getting happy. You know, like, what if $50,000 showed up, right? And it made me super happy. So I did a tapping routine and I just said, okay, so if $50,000 isn't in my life in one check, that means I'm blocking it somehow, or else it'd be here. So I did this crazy tapping, never in a million years dreaming that it would go so viral. I mean, I think it's over like 500,000 views just on that one video. Like, and it's not, you know, there's no cats playing piano, right? It's just me tapping. It's no blooper. On $50,000, and I'm open to receiving it, and I must be blocking it and not wanting it and don't think I deserve it, and so I forgive myself for that, and I'm open to receiving $50,000. People frickin' loved it. And I guess because of the title, it gets pulled up on searches even with people who don't know tapping. And so there's like, when you read the comments, sometimes there's people like, what the hell is she doing? You know, because it came up in a search for money, and then they see like, you know, and they're like, that lady's weird, you know. So we get some really weird comments, and my favorite one that I get every once in a while is, I'd tap that, and I'm like, 47, I still got it. And then my staff deletes those comments because they're not appropriate. But and it just kind of went crazy.
Beautiful.
So, you know, sometimes your ideas that you just feel drawn to do, you know, I just literally went in my bedroom and turned on a flip camera, little flip camera on my brother's tripod, and turned it on. And I was like, I hope I'm in front of it because it doesn't have a viewfinder. And then I just did that crazy video along with a zillion other ones.
It's amazing. You also like using 7 steps, and one of the other 7-step models that I came across recently takes vision, which usually has been very, very typical for my manifesting process. I'll get a vision first. It just comes to you, and then you just cannot not have it. You know, like, okay, now what? And then the second step, they say it's a desire. So basically taking your vision and making it palatable, as you said. That's why in that process, and that's the process that suddenly brings all those beliefs, you know, that are not why you're not having it right now. And so I don't know if you want to comment a little bit more about having that huge desire, you know, building up that desire more and more and more, you know, like you did with 50,000, so that you can see really what's blocking it. And then I guess the bigger it is, the more clear you're going to see, right?
Yeah, and that is why I like the 7 chakras, because you're kind of looking at the map of all the ways you could not believe it or not receive it or not allow it to show up, and literally like bat it away with tennis rackets, you know? It's like you're like, no, I don't need that money. No. And so it's like if you get this download, which would be 7th chakra, like that this is possible, right? And then in the 6th chakra, it's sort of like you said, the vision. Like I can see. But it's not just picture the number $50,000. It's like I can see how I can give something that has that kind of value, and there's people who will buy that from me, and that will cause this exchange to come in. Mm-hmm. And so the vision has to get, it'll often trigger people. They'll visualize, and then they'll get an idea. Like, oh my God, I thought of how I could do that, right? Like all I need to do is like Jack Canfield. I just need to sell like $1 million for $1, right? I'm like, whoa. It's crazy, man. So you get this like more of it becomes from just an idea almost to like a goal. Like it starts to solidify, right? But now it has to come to your 5th chakra, which means you have to start talking about it, speaking about it within yourself. Yes, this can happen. It's like the truth you speak in yourself and out in the world, because normally we get an idea and then we think, how could it happen? And then we start talking about it with people and shit starts to manifest. People are like, hey, I know somebody that can help you with that. Or I have a group you can talk to, or that's a really cool idea. Can I support you? Yeah. And the more you speak, your 5th chakra literally starts to manifestation channel. The 4th chakra is really about seeing it from the other side, which is being in love with what it's going to do in the world. Right. And so this thing that I'm going to give, that's going to give me, it's kind of like, I'll say, there's another video I have called A Different Version of 50,000, which people do not like as much. They do not appreciate as much because I'm willing to give $50,000 in value. Yeah. I'm willing to give from my experience and knowledge and training and from my heart that much value in the marketplace. Right now. That doesn't mean you have to run around and shine 50,000 people's shoes, right? Because one video that gives $10 worth of value, but 500,000 people can watch it, right? That's a lot of value in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And so it's how much can I give? And it's thinking about in a very personal way, when you give this gift, knowing, unless you're a charlatan, knowing that it's there's people that this is going to help. And there's people that maybe that were like me, sometimes the gift we give is something we've lived through. Like, I think this will help people and I care. And there's people that I don't even know yet that I am going to meet and connect with, and they're going to be saying, thank you. And I can't wait to give in that way, right? So it's a little different twist on the $50,000, right? And luckily, we are women. Women, we love to give. We are givers, right? Oh, right? That's the one thing. Check, I can do the giving. So I'm willing to give and I'm willing to help. And then in the 3rd chakra, it's really like, can I really feel through my whole system or close my eyes and visualize me in like, it's me, I'm the one. I am the perfect one to give this gift in the way that I can give it. And I totally deserve to receive this, right? Like, because of me and my value and who I am. I don't care if 10 other people are selling that service. It's me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And at the 2nd chakra, it's really about receiving. It's really about, I deserve now, not later, not when I'm smarter, not when I'm perfect, not when I've cleared my debt, not when I'm not guilty anymore about something. I deserve now, not striving to arrive at deserving. It's like, I want it now. I want me, pleasure, want now. Right? And we are so willing to say, we're willing to sacrifice, right? Another thing, women, power of the moms, and specifically willing to sacrifice, willing to work hard, willing to defer our pleasure and our reward. I mean, Lord knows if you have kids, we deferred for a long time, right? I'm finally, like, my daughter's 16, she's getting her license. I'm like, mommy's time is coming, amazing, right? Because she's at a different age. She emerges fully dressed from the shower. It's amazing. So it's like I've been waiting in some ways to get my life back, right? So we're so used to deferring, but at the second chakra, you can have an energy that says, well, I could have done that better, which means I don't really deserve the reward yet, which means I'm just going to bat that away, or find a way to get rid of that money because I'm not sure I deserve it yet, because I could have done it better. We have to be really, really careful about that. And then at the first chakra, is there anything in my family's paradigm or belief system that says it's possible for me, based on my merits and values, to earn $50,000 in a lump sum and then not get rid of it? Or does that make me somebody who doesn't fit in my family if I have 50 grand in a savings account? So the first chakra is my family's paradigm. How does this sit? Because you could get all the way down and have that manifest in your hands and then literally find ways to get rid of all of it, because unconsciously it does not, you don't fit in your family anymore. If you have that, if you've made that much money, or if you've had that security sitting there. So I love the chakras because you don't miss anything. You get every piece of the puzzle, and you're not like working on something but have something else in your blind spot, right? And you know, as you go down, they get more important. The first and second chakra are the money chakras, right? And that's why I spend so much time with people on clearing their paradigms, right? Well, the second chakra is the party chakra, right? And this is the disturbing trend is women, you know, I'm 47, right? And so women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s tend to shift into a mode that is, I don't really need my second chakra. I'm kind of done with that part of my life. You know, I'm smart, I'm accomplished. I don't need to be sexy and goddessy. That's when I was in my 20s. And we kind of go into this very what you'd call the rule keeper mindset, which is very cut and dried. I don't have a lot of needs. I can do a lot of things myself, which are great qualities, but they are not receiving manifesting qualities. And so we tend to manifest a lot of stuff to do without a lot of reward. Okay? And it gets worse when you are divorced or a single woman or a single mom. And here's why. Because now you're like head of household, earning your own money. Now you've started your own business and you're a solo entrepreneur and you're like me. I'm the top of my business. I'm the CEO. All the staff depends on me. That is all masculine energy activities. And we step into it with grace and power and courage, and we grow and we go to events and it's awesome. But we forget about the balance of the goddess energy. Which is, so we are constantly working with women to open up their second chakra and remember that it's not one or the other, right? You still have to seduce your husband because that actually shifts your energy into more of a second chakra receiving goddess energy. It's the way it is, right? And so I find that kind of a disturbing trend in women in their second part of life to sort of shut down some of that and be like, I don't need all that anymore, all that sexuality stuff and the sexy stuff and whatever. And they have a hard time really manifesting. Your second chakra energy is your manifesting goddess creative energy. Do not give that up, people. I just posted a picture on Facebook myself in a little black dress. Holy crap, I've never worn a dress that short. And I was like, that's right, I'm putting it up there. I was heading out to celebrate. And I'm like, I don't know how many more years I can wear dresses like that. But I was like, it's important for me as doing a male-dominated sort of career where I'm running the show, I'm earning the money, I'm running the staff. I take out my own trash. I'm a single mom, right? I am like fixing stuff and going up ladders. I need to have my feminine energy in balance. So I get all dressed up and get pretty and be like, someone take a picture before I go out, because I want to remember that I have the feminine energy too. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That also answers the question, what's the number one priority? If you can, you're always looking for 20/80, right? So that's why I was thinking, okay, there are 7 chakras, there are 7 approaches, 7 belief systems, but what's the one that can give you the biggest bang for the buck if you start focusing right now? And then you just answer that question. And I noticed that over the last 3 months, I was like, okay, I'm enjoying those towels, I'm enjoying this. And I started bringing this word pleasure because, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the receiving vibration. And I'm so excited that, that you explain it so well.
Right.
It's it just makes sense because this is your 20/80. Just receive pleasure. Like there's the sunshine, that's pleasure.
Yes.
I'm driving a nice car. That's pleasure. Like, well, somebody look at me. Oh, that's cute and pleasure. Like that's
right.
Great.
Right. It is because you can be like, I'm single. Like, so it doesn't. There's a lot of women in our age group who are single, right? Yeah. And it's like you don't have to be sexually active to be running sexual energy through your system. It's creative and it's fun and it's sensual. You know what I mean? It's like you just said, there's lots of things. Like I often have people joke that when I have certain foods or my tea that's like at a breakfast, like they should pull a curtain around me because I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And it's sensual pleasure. Let it be there. Let it be fun. I mean, one of the things we do at one of my Rockstar retreats, I know this is going to push a lot of people's buttons. We go around from table to table and they compete for the best orgasm scream. The whole table has to pretend like they're having an orgasm. And we do it at the end of a long day and after a nice dinner, and the hotel's always like, what's happening in there? And there's always like a few guys who are like, oh my God, I didn't know women could fake it this good. And it's like, for the people who get so offended, it's like you can see like that's not appropriate. It's all, and it really opens up the fun and the lightness and the craziness, and it shifts people into a very different energy. It's crazy.
I think those energies that you were describing earlier of giving, it's almost like, borderline with deserving. Well, let me just earn that. Let me just earn that. And with pleasure, with the second chakra, it's kind of like, so good, I can't get better.
Yes.
It's really much fun.
Yeah, it's the goddess energy, the queen energy. It's like, yes, serve me, please me, wait on me. My sister, we have a joke where we'll say, are there any more attendants at this, wherever we're at a restaurant or a massage place, or are there more attendants that can bring us more things? Because it's like you want to be really conscious and light about being like, I want to receive more things. Can someone like detail my car while I'm getting this massage? Because I will enjoy that thought even more, and so it's be fun, be light about it, laugh more deeply, and you will start finding there's more money in your life and there's more opportunity. And you know what else really happens? So much of when you step into owning your power is finding, it's particularly if you become a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, you start doing a business of your own. Everything you're going to do and get and be and have is going to be through other people. Right. And when you start getting lighter and owning your second chakra, people will be more attracted to you. You're funner, you're lighter, it's like that's where charisma comes from. Charisma is not up here. It's from the whole core, mostly the second chakra. So people who have a more fluid second chakra have more charisma, and people want to hang around with them. You know why? Because they're like, oh my God, I have fun with you. You're crazy. I don't know what you're going to have us do next, right? And it doesn't mean you have to be inappropriate all the time, because I can pull it together and be at an event where I'm not all crazy, and I can get really serious about my craft and be very, very on point. But then about 5 minutes later, I'm going to make an inappropriate joke and see who in the group wants to hang out with me, because I want the fun people, right? And that's where my best partnerships come from. That's where the best supporters I've ever had have come from, is those kind of like, I like you, and let's like be friends. Let's hang out. Let's connect. Like, I'll mail for you. I'll support your product because I just think you're awesome. That's when it's fun to build a business, for me anyway.
One of the things that I like is the importance of being unreasonable, and I like taking it. And now I'm realizing that this unreasonable part is really coming from the charismatic leader. It just came out of me. And so like the whole podcast thing that I'm doing right now is called Are You Unreasonable Enough? So I'm curious, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, not you're unreasonable. Are you unreasonable enough? How crazy is that? It's like I'm having a conversation with a mastermind friend, you know, where we're discussing this new energy that I feel is evolving in me. And we're like, I feel Italy around me. And she's like, and we just tapped into that. And we're like, if you go to Italy right now, it's going to just really grow. I'm like, right now? Okay. She's like, 2 weeks. I'm like, no, I think I'm going to be there 3 days.
Wow.
So what are some of the unreasonable things that Margaret Lynch is doing? It can be a little or a big, anything at all.
I know, I keep thinking of like unreasonable beyond all reason. Well, you know, some of the unreasonable things, I guess, that I do is, well, one thing work related is I came back from vacation and I was like, we're doing a launch in 2 weeks, which my team has never done before. And then I required myself to get ready to script out 4 full videos and then film them in 1 week. And I frickin' did it. I don't even know how I did it. But it's like, I kept saying to the team, I know you think I'm like sniffing glue right now, and this is completely unreasonable and it's not going to work. But hey, you know, I feel it. I think we can do it and I want to go for it. And most of the work is on me to get the ball rolling. And so I've never really put that much of an unreasonable request on myself. But beyond that, which is kind of boring to me, it's really like I'm definitely in a mode of, you know, I try to remind myself that right now you're lining up how your life is going to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year, like literally the things that I do today. And so how far can I push like the limits of reason? And reason just really means how is it bumping up against your belief system? Because unreasonable for you, for someone else might be like, that's my life, right? How far can I push it to say that I am really struggling very, very little? Mm-hmm. That I don't work very hard at all. Mm-hmm. And my team absolutely loves their job. Like there's abundance coming in, that my team is well, you know, incentivized. They love their job. They love working for me, and I'm paying myself well. Mm-hmm. Like I have beliefs that say, well, it's got to be kind of hard. Like I got to be struggling sometimes. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some complaints coming out of my mouth to somebody somewhere, right? Like I have to be able to say to my family, oh yeah, I worked really, really hard. I know I went on that trip, right? And so how far can I push that paradigm that says, I am working an unreasonably small amount for the money that I'm making? Does that make sense?
This is beautiful. This is beautiful. It feels like, you know, the 21st century manifesting or whatever we want to call it, reality creation.
Yes.
It's all about effortlessness, right?
Yeah, and
we all can know how to do it hard, but the art comes and the mastery comes from, okay, well, not hard, smart, or like, how does it show up?
Right. And then that means that if I've got 10 hours of work to do today, then I should still only do 5. And I'm like, what? But I'm like, yeah, I should stop working at 5 and be like, I'm having the greatest night, because this is how I want my life to be. Yeah. So if I start doing it now, even though it defies all logic and all reason, because there's something I want to get done, mm-hmm. and I'm just like, you know what, my vibe is going to be, it's all going to happen. It's all going to get done. I'm going to get it done more efficiently. The ideas are going to flow, and somehow I'm going to get it done in 1 day instead of 3 days of filming, which is what I did last week. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to relax and only work 5 hours today. And I'm like, part of me is like, you're crazy. And I'm like, but I don't want to keep creating my life as 10-hour days. Mm-hmm. So, you know, be really specific. I know, you know, you do have to create at the first chakra level. And so you do have to work and create your business so that a year from now, 2 years from now, it's rolling and it's happening. But at the same time, it's like, but what level do I want to be working at that it feels easy and fun? Mm-hmm. And I have all this great time with my nieces and my nephews and my daughter and my sisters and all that stuff. And so that my life continues to unfold that way. Mm-hmm. Because if I keep sticking to that 3 months, 6 months, a year, that's going to be my schedule 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. Unreasonable.
I know, and this is the best gift actually that I'm receiving right now, because it's so timely for me, like today, you know. Like,
and you know it's a good one when you feel your brain going, that doesn't make sense, and you're like, oh, this is good.
This is good, exactly. Like now I'm excited. Like we have a big payoff, you know, coming up.
Exactly. And like the payoff that I want isn't always really money. You know, it's really about time. Like I like time. I like time for myself. And I like time with the kids. Mm-hmm. I like time And so money is in there, of course, because I want to have an abundant life, but I like time as much. So that's a big one for me. I won't work twice as hard to earn twice as much money.
I
Nope.
know. Yeah, that's
Nope.
beautiful.
Nope. I want freedom. So I want money because it gives me more freedom and it means my mission's happening. But I don't want to create a world where I'm working twice as hard. Hell no.
I'm feeling right now, Margaret, like how people, like the other charismatic leaders listening to that is like, yes, now we have the permission. Now we know what to do. You know, I can really feel it right now. One of the things that Abraham said, you know, through Esther Hicks, they talked about there is no such thing as a one-sided coin. So if you have a gift, you know, somebody's going to show up. You talked about that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, just like a side comment, but also I want to ask you a question. Is there a question that I'm not asking that you would like to answer?
Well, you could ask, where can people get your fabulous book?
Yes, that's going to be the next. So you can bring all of that right here, right now. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
I'm just about to jump on another interview, actually. Yes. But yeah, so the book is, if you go to tappingintowealth.com, there's this awesome video on the 5 kinds of money. And people, you know, you can just go to Amazon and find the book Tapping Into Wealth. Or it's pretty much in every bookstore that I've checked in on it because it came out with Penguin Books and they've got it everywhere. But if you go to tappingintowealth.com, you can watch this awesome video on the 5 kinds of money. And people love that video. We get a lot of feedback. So it's like people haven't even read the book yet and I want them to get some content. So that's there. It talks about the 5 different kinds of money. And then if you buy the book there, you click there, you can actually email me and say, I want those prizes you promised.
And they can find you on YouTube, on your website. Would you share that as well?
Yeah, the website is margaretmlynch.com. So Margaret, and then M is in Mary, my middle name, Margaret Mary, Irish Catholic. margaretmlynch.com is my website.
Okay. Excellent. I'm so much looking forward for a lot of people to get more knowledge about what you have to share and your influence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so fun to be with you, Anya. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye. For my business, you know, after I got this charismatic leader out of me, I had a vision board. The first person on the interviews that got picture was you.
Wow.
I know. And then when I started, you know, finding out like who I want to contact, you know, like you were like one of the first 3 people. I said, I don't want anybody else. I want these 3 people. And you were the first one who said that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Wow. I know. And I never agree to interview. I really don't do interviews very often. I don't do telesummits. I'm very obnoxious that way because I'm usually right in the middle of something. Like today is, you know, filming and I got to jump, but I have 2. So I'm like, this is good. I get them both done, but I'm glad I did. It was awesome to meet you and great job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Great job.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.